Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. We are back, and we are back with a bang once more. We are here in the NARS series for the virtual modern sports car championship. I am James Parfitt. I'm going to be alongside Dara Faka this evening, who will bring us in the all of the action here at Daytona once more. And to be honest with you, it's been too long before we've come back again here as well. And it is definitely one for the masses. We can have a look this evening at the schedule here for this series. We have done the exhibition race. We have got 1.2 hours of Daytona, 1.2 hours of Sebring on 21st of March. There is a very long break between round 1 and round 2. 60 minutes of Long Beach on the 11th of April, and then 60 minutes of Laguna Seca on the 2nd of May. 60 minutes of Detroit on the 23rd of May for round 5. We've got 60 minutes of the Glen for round 6 on the 27th of June, and 60 minutes of Mosport on the 11th of July. 60 minutes of Road America on the 25th of July. 60 minutes of VIR on the 15th of August, and 1.2 hours of Indianapolis for round 10 on the 26th of September, and round 11, 1.2 hours of Road Atlanta. But the track itself here tonight, it is the Daytona Roval. We all know it. We've all been around it, and we've done it in various sports car disciplines here as well. 5.73 kilometers, 3.56 miles, built in 1950. You can see the orange zone runs from the start finish line right the way round to turn 6. That is not an area that they are not going to be able to overtake. They can overtake, but the penalties will be a lot harsher if they get it wrong in that area. Okay, so that's the situation with that one. So they can overtake, they cause an incident, they're going to get a penalty. Right, tyre choices. Well, let's have a look. The Hypercars have got medium, hard, and wets this season. It's got mediums, got wet. 2 choices here as well. They are running the new SGS tyres based off the IMSA tyre manufacturer, Michelin, believe it or not. So we will see how the tyres hold up here and whether or not they're going to be able to go as far as they want to on the tyres that they've got. For the challenges, well, tight track limits, avoid the multi-class chaos, and nail the bus stop. That is going to be one of the things that they're going to have to deal with. Multi-class chaos, and we say that in a way where we've got 32 GT3s on track, 17 hypercars on track as well. Do we all think it's going to go wrong? Well, let's just say it possibly may do here as well. But let's see what happens as we're going to be going now very, very shortly into the warm-up. That gives us just enough time here as well to bring in young Dara. Dara, welcome into the booth, dear sir. How are you?
Oh, thank you. And yeah, looking forward to this one. You said multi-class chaos. Yeah, with all the cars, we've got 49. We might see a couple of little instances where some of the hypercars are trying to get through on the GT3s. We see it at the bus stop all the time, don't we? Where a hypercar thinks it can sneak through on the inside, but the GT3 isn't going to allow it. And you can see quite a big airplane crash. But yeah, looking forward to this one. And it should kick off the season in a fantastic way.
Yeah, it definitely should do here as well. And while we have got a break in proceeding here, we're going to have a chat with Ross Smith, obviously the man from Storm Gang Simulation, who we do speak to on a regular period every time we've got a race on. Ross, welcome into the booth, dear sir. How are you?
Good morning all, and yeah, thanks for having me.
No trouble at all. Tell us then, Ross, what are we going into this season? What's been added? What's been taken out? What's the best? What are you driving? And are you going to win the race?
Well, I'll answer the last one first. No, but
okay.
Yeah, there's there's so much to talk about and so little time. And Alec King is in here. Alex been able to actually bring this broadcast into this. So big round of applause to him and Matthew for putting it together. It's really great that we're getting exposure. We've talked about this side of things for from VWSC and like the sister series of NARS on Thursday, and now here we are. People can actually like see it and hear about it and get the stories behind it. I mean, we're always broadcasting locally and doing stuff with it, but we don't always get this type of level exposure. So it's wonderful that they've been able to pull that together. So obviously that's the biggest new thing. I'll try and get through some stuff real quick so we can get Alex in here. But yeah, big changes for this year. Obviously, we've updated all the cars. We've got every manufacturer represented that is racing in both IMSA and the World Endurance Championship. So, congrats to the Storm Gang team, all the testers, all the people who were involved in that enormous effort to do that. Still a lot of work to be done. If you go inside inside any of the new cars, you'll see that there's still quite a bit of graphical stuff that I'll actually be working on with a few other people. But we're hustling through that so that way it looks absolutely gorgeous, giving a lot of great feedback to drivers so that way they can see everything that's going on and really just have a wonderful time, full immersion. Just it's going to be great. So 6 new cars this year, 3 in Hypercar, 3 in GT. We've got the Isotta Fraschini, sorry George, the Lamborghini SC63 and the Alpine A424, and then we've got in the GT field out with the old for the Porsche and the Ferrari 488, and then the new 992 Porsche and the 296 GT3 Ferrari. And then, of course, new for this year everywhere is the Ford Mustang GT3, which looks great, sounds great, and it is the car to beat for sure. I know it's kind of all over the place in the field, but after Autopolis for a test race, it definitely stood out as a crowd favorite. Very balanced, 50-50. It's just awesome everywhere. It's and we've seen it in real life. The car has been BOP'd. A lot of stuff has been done to it just because it has performed so well. So we're really proud of the fact that we're struggling with the same BOP stuff that the real guys are. So this is a lot of fun. It's really cool to see, and yeah, we're pumped to get it. The other new things for this year are the GT3s and the Hypercars, brand new tires all around for everyone. So it's going to be amazing to see how they deal with it. The biggest differences being that GT3s, obviously, they've gone to the one compound as they have done in real life for cost effectiveness and just being able to make it so that way the spec work is a little bit more on top of things in terms of just drivers being able to basically focus on racecraft and car setup and all that to actually come to terms and grips with things. Mostly it's cost. And then on the hypercar side, we're just missing the soft compound. We do have the medium and the hard, so you do have a good strategy there in terms of just what you want to be able to use. The mediums, which are the softer compound, they've actually been done up in such a way that they don't last as long. So there's definitely going to be a lot more consideration for the harder compound than we saw last year, where it barely got used except for certain cars at certain conditions. This year, with tire temperature and everything being so much more sensitive, especially on these outlaps, like watch the hypercars, just like in real life where you see them kind of just putzing around a little bit, like sometimes even getting swamped by the slower classes just because they have no grip. The tires are just stone cold on the outset. It's going to be very similar here, not quite as bad as real life, because they are going to have tire warmers and WEC, so that makes a little bit of a difference there. So we're sort of splitting the difference a little bit on that. So they'll still be very difficult on those first 2 laps, but once they come up to the operating temperature, you're going to see them really cruise for the next 4, 5, 6, 7 laps maybe, and then it's going to really start to drop off, especially if they're those mediums. So lots to be done there. I mean, the cars are so different from one another in all of the categories. It's really cool. We're really excited. But I'll stop talking so I stop taking up all the time.
No worries. We can bring Alec into the booth. Alec, good evening, dear sir. How are you?
Doing good, guys. How are you guys doing?
I'm fabulous at this time of the evening. You know what I mean? What more could I ask for? And I get to watch the NARS series this season as well. We speak about it every single time we do the VWSC, and Ross says in NARS on Thursday, and nothing much happening. But here we are. We're doing both, and rock it with the 2024 cars.
I know, man. I know. I'm really excited. Being in the booth with you guys on Saturdays made me really wish that we had some commentary here for the Thursday series. I mainly run the Thursday series just because of IRL racing implications and stuff that makes me not able to run on Saturdays. So, this is a really cool series this year. Last year we ran this series and the Saturday series all as one calendar, so we all ran all of the same tracks and races. But now this series is actually strictly the IMSA championship. So we are running all of the IMSA events and everything. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. We get to see some cool tracks that we've never seen on the VWSC or VMSC calendar. I'm really excited for this year, and I think it's going to be a lot of good racing and kind of bring some light onto some other tracks and other types of racing.
You're in it this year. Is that not a conflict of interest there, Mr. Alec King, sir?
It depends on. No, for me, it's not a conflict of interest. I don't see why it's a conflict of interest. To other people, it may, because we may have not. People think that I have an upper hand on things, but I don't feel like I do.
No, to be honest, whenever the boss is in something, you're always going to get that. You know what I mean? Don't you worry about it. It's always going to happen when you step into that area and, become the boss, and then you're in it and they're like, oh, he's going to win because he's done, whatever. He's got tire hacks or whatever. It's always likely to happen, right? We do love a good old conspiracy here as well. So, look, as long as you're going to enjoy yourself, that's really all that matters.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, this is just all for fun, being able to race these cars and everything, and it's just such a good series. Everybody involved in it is great, and I was really thankful that Ross allowed me to get on board with everybody this year and developing the cars. I was able to do some testing and everything. So it was a lot of fun, and I'm really excited for this year. I'm super glad to have you guys on board, and I put it on the front row behind Daniel Kirby for this race, so hopefully him and I can have some fun, although we are having some conflict because him and I are 1-2 in qualifying and also sharing a pit box. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, I've just noticed that you two are in a pit box together. Now, ideally, on an ideal scenario on that one, Alec, you would have liked to have been next to Ross, right? A GT car, and being able to alternate your strategies. How's that going to work for the pair of you then?
It's interesting. Yes, you want to be on a GT, and I actually would have preferred possibly any other hypercar other than Daniel, only because him and I run so close in pace at almost every race we run together that we normally always pit at the exact same time and run the exact same strategy and do everything exactly the same. So now that we are going to be side by side in a pit stall, I have no idea what to expect now for this race. That just threw me for a loop. So yeah, we're just going to manage, put the pedal down, and try and have some fun.
Well, that's pretty much all you can do, isn't it? Just try and enjoy yourself and make sure you don't run into each other in the pit box, because not only would that be rather interesting, I'd like to see who's going to get there first.
Yeah, that's the main thing, and him and I have a lot of respect for each other, so I'm definitely going to try and be able to get out of the way so he can pit, and I hope he is able to move to the side if I'm behind him so I can pit. So the last thing we want to have is if us are possibly running 1-2 and then one of us have to sit and wait for a minute for one of us to get going forward so we can, still be on the same pace within the race.
I'm going to be interested to see how this one turns out here, Alec. You know what I mean? I'm really quite interested to see how you two are going to combine your pit box on this one. Bringing Ross back into the booth. Ross, the work that's gone in over the off-season, should we say, it doesn't seem long ago that we finished the VWSC and now we're back. We've got new cars. How much effort and work has gone into this build, as you such, for what we've got this season?
Oh, it's just enormous. Everything from the physics to the testing to the graphics, liveries. I mean, Alex put a huge amount of work in putting liveries on this pack, as well as some of the other ones that he's been doing on the side. I mean, it's just thousands and thousands of hours, laps. It's enormous, and you can see it in the mod. You can see it in a lot of the feedback. I mean, people are really excited. They're exploring the cars a lot, which is exactly what you want, because there's so much inside of them. I mean, you can hop into each one, you can immediately feel the difference, but you can also feel all the areas where they're just unique, and they're just waiting for you to kind of unlock their secrets and really just tap into them, almost like I don't know, like a Gundam suit or something, where you just like neurally link right into it, and then you're just hooked up. But yeah, the racing's just going to be like nothing you've seen anywhere else. It's just, everyone's going to be really on top of each other, all types of strategies and everything that are going to come into play. Lots of thrills and spills, and hopefully we'll be able to just have that all the way through the entire season, which I'm sure we will.
Are we going to be able to get a highlight reel with incidents, or are we just going to have completely clean racing?
I don't think you can ever say you have completely clean racing anywhere. To be honest, it's just one of those things, man. It's racing, so you're always going to have bumps and bruises. It's what happens. But I think we'll have a few highlights, maybe some lowlights, you might say. But overall, I mean, CMS has been a pretty gold standard in terms of just racecraft, race etiquette. I've never, been more excited to race in a league than at Champion Motorsports and with NARS and the guys who come in here. You get such a great talent pool. I mean, everyone from the gentleman driver all the way up to like elite drivers that are running in real life and kicking butt there. So it's just so cool to have everybody on track at the same time and just be in the middle of it all and having fun. I'll be in the middle, probably nowhere near the top, maybe not at the bottom, but it's a long race. We'll see what happens.
And you've done a cheeky little car swap this season, I've noticed.
Oh, you mean going to GT3? Yeah. Yeah, that was it's a bit of a personal choice. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff happening. The hypercars are very popular. I got some fill there. They just, there's just so much going on. It made sense to move to GT3 and kind of hang out down here. I mean, obviously, I've run in GT2 before, did GTE for a couple years, and had a lot of success there. So it's not unfamiliar territory. I definitely like hanging out with a different group of individuals, drivers that have a lot of different talent, and just having a totally different challenge on it. There's a lot of fun to be had in here.
Yeah, okay. Is that your real reason, Mr. Or were the hypercars just too much? Were they too fast for you this season?
Well, no driver would ever say anything like they were. But realistically, it came down to more of a timing thing. I really want to spend a lot more time focused on getting the mod updated and where it needs to be, so that way we can release the WSC 2023 into the workshop. So what we ran last year with those physics and everything. And that doesn't afford a whole lot of time to go in and do a lot of testing and development for your own setups, which for these hypercars, they have very specific demands. And if you're not on top of them, you're just not going to be competitive. And not to say that the GT3 crowd is not hardworking or competitive, but it's something where you can actually get into it a little bit faster, and you can kind of find your footing a little bit quicker without as much to move around. There aren't near as many things to consider when setting up the car, so it's kind of like it becomes more of a driver's car, and you can just get in and go. So those are my reasons. I'm happy with them.
Are you saying they're easier to drive?
They're easier, I guess, to sorry, they're not easier to drive per se. They take maybe a little bit less time to come to grips with.
Oh, do you need a shovel, Mr. Smith? Because we could go in.
Absolutely not. You can ask any other driver; they will probably agree with me.
So they're easier to drive, and they're easier to set up, and that's why you've got in there.
Yes.
Okay, well, at least you're honest, I suppose, on that one. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, at least if you're gonna upset everyone, you might as well just upset the whole field all in one foul swoop. What do we think from you? What am I gonna see from Mr. Smith in his Lamborghini Huracan? Is he gonna be at the top? Is he gonna be in the middle? Where are you really? What are you hoping for this season?
This season, just to have fun. I'm in here with Josh for NARS, so we're hanging out, just enjoying the cars, getting into fights where we can. If it's mid pack, great. If it's top of the field, even better. As long as we're able to finish, I think that's going to be the primary goal, and hopefully have fun doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the new cars. Have you had much experience with the new hypercars? You know, say you've got the Lamborghini, the new cars that are coming in. I've been asked to call one of the cars. This is the weirdest message. Now, I do love interaction with people who DM me. Please, can you call the Isotta the Risotto Frappuccini? I know.
A little bit.
I know. It's very bizarre that I do get wonderful messages like this. But it's things like that you have brought in. You know, the Isotta itself, new to this season. You know, what are we expecting from that in general? Because I had a bit of a blowout earlier on. As I said to you earlier on, I drove all of the hyper cars, because I don't want to call them anything else. Otherwise, George will not be too happy with me. But I had a drive with the hypercars, and to be honest, the best one for me was the BMW. Yes, the Fraschini had, you know, power for days, and the Peugeot wanted to kill me, and all of this sort of thing. How hard are they to bring into a mod, Ross? How hard are they to collect the data for it?
It does take an awful lot of work, because there's some guesswork on top of studying all of the information that is available publicly. We have been able to reach out to some of the manufacturers and mostly unofficially get some information, which is why I'm not saying which specific ones, just because many of them have had interest in what we're doing, because they know that we have a real life race engineer who's working on these cars. Oh my!
Oh, as Ross ends up going.
Sorry, I got a little bit of a session switch here, so it made the wheel go wild. So yeah, they want to see these cars get as close as they can be to useful for them. So you know, they've informed us of certain things, so we've been able to get a little bit of information, but it really helps, because then we can bring them in. Obviously, we're not going to get them exactly how they are in real life, even if we had that information, because we need to be able to balance them properly within the sim, because we want this to be competitive, whether it means that we have to adjust fuel tank size, fuel burn, tire wear, top end, drag, downforce, general handling, cornering, like all those things come into play that we use to try and get the cars so that way everyone has the ability to win a race, regardless of where they are, what they're doing. Some tracks are going to be a lot more conducive than others. I mean, you're going to see that today. Some cars are going to come away from this looking like absolute gold, and then we're going to get into wherever we're going next. I was going to say Sebring, that one, and they're going to look like snails by comparison, or just, you know, they'll sort of be middling maybe. And it's just because drivers are able to play to certain strengths and weaknesses, and that's what it's all about. You want to see it over the course of the season, who can really extract the most out of their car while playing to their strengths, and, you know, covering for any of the shortcomings that they've got. So it's going to be great, and every one of these cars is like that.
Well, thank you so much for joining us there, buddy, and having a good old chin wag. As always, it's been a pleasure. I will probably see you on Saturday, no doubt, where we bring back the VWSC there, young sir. But good luck in the race. Hope it works out for you. Hope everything goes as planned and your easy car becomes an easy car for you to drive, dear sir.
don't say that too much out in front of everyone else. But yes, thank you. I appreciate the thought.
You said it. That's why I said, did you want to show? You said it's easy to drive, easy to set up, and you can literally just jump in it and crack on. That's what you said.
Easier. And so thanks, James. Thanks, Derek. And we'll
Catch you later.
Hopefully, maybe see you at the end. Yeah.
Maybe. Let's see how you get on. Good luck, bud.
All right. Good night.
Take care. Right, well, there you go, guys. That was Ross into the booth as well. Thank you so much for everybody that's joined me. I believe there was a lot of chat going on before we'd even gone live. So, Becky Ely, welcome in. Magnus Dahlgren, not quite sure why you're still up and not in bed. Stefani there as well. Should be an interesting start. Well, with 32 GT3s, it definitely is going to be. Kurt Bizzle, whee! He says there as well. Just realised there's over 30 GT. Jesus, yes, there is. As well. So thank you to all of you who have just joined me there. Thank you so much. And Mr. Reese, much appreciated for jumping in on the NARS series. It's got to be a late one for you, so thank you so much for that. Let's bring Dara back into the booth. He's had about 10-15 minutes of silence at the moment. Dara, welcome in there, sir. Are you back? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I've just had some. I've just had a nice quiet time here. I've just had my hot chocolate with me, and I've been listening to what's being said. And yeah, I don't think Ross is going to win over too many fans by saying that the GT3s are easy to drive. But you know, at least he's honest. At least he's not going to tell us any porcupines. You kill any Banky. A warm-up lap, I think. Yeah, that was a very wide line, but yeah, backed out of that one. But no, yeah, looking forward to this one. As it's been said in the chat, as we've said whilst talking, 33 GT3 cars. I mean, it's just going to be absolute mayhem. Just the 33 GT cars alone would be a lot. And then you've got to factor in those 17 hypercars. And this is going to be a melee.
Absolutely. Let's bring you up the starting order here as well. Franco Alvarez is on that pole position with Dan Kirby in second, Mike Bell and Gwilym Benk in third and fourth. Moving on from that one, on to the next row we go. Diego Rodriguez is in fifth in that Cadillac V Series with Norm Graff alongside him in sixth. Felipe Ducati in seventh and George Angelidis eighth. Then you got Gilles Lalonde in ninth. Then you got Daniel Fans, the leading GT3 in the Mercedes AMG as well. Michael Lock in the Mercedes. Mark Scumpham lap there as well. Eric Jacobs in 13th, Stephen Miller 14th, John Meyer 15th, and Johnny Gutierrez in 16th place. And moving on, Paul Ibertson in 17th and Dave Coors in 18th. Then you got Oliver Day in 19th and Eugene Mazur in 20th. 21st is Alexander McQuarrie, then Tucker Martin in 22nd, James Bowders 23rd, and Carl Struffhole in 24th. On from there, Jerry Chen in 25th, and then at the back you've got some of the hypercars there. Brian Hall, Lanny Hall, Tom Mountjoy there as well is sitting on that towards that back end of the grid. That's going to be an interesting one. Harry Hamilton and Alicia Neto in 30th, Matthew Santos and Mateus Santos in 31st, John Uyan down in 32nd. JT Tammy in 33rd, Mike Olsen 34th, Matthew Overton 35th, and Vinicius de Oliveira in 36th place. Moving on, Vinicius Concalves in 37th, Stuart Barge 38th, Ross Smith down in 39th, and James Walker in 40th. And on from there, Gino Bardelli in the BMW in 41st, Josh McLinsky in 42nd, David Anderson 43rd, and Cole McMillan in 44th place. Don't worry, it's not done yet. Philip Stocks in 45th, Ken Scott in 46th, Adrian Rice in 47th, and Tom Nacella in 48th here. And then Alan Holden is the 49th car on the grid. Well, we're going to be up and running. We're going to get racing very, very shortly, guys. The only time of the evening that we generally are saying this is sit back, get your popcorn, and enjoy yourself, because we're going to be going racing very, very shortly. So let's see what goes on here as well for the opening round of the NARS Series as well from Daytona once more. Dara, final words before we get started. What do we think is going to be happening in this one? Are we predicting a lot of chaos?
Well, it's going to be interesting, I think, in the hypercar category, where there's only 17 cars. Alec King was saying that he thinks himself and Dan Kirby are similarly matched. We'll have to see if they can get themselves away from the likes of Alvarez, Bell and Chen. But, I mean, at the back, of course, there are those 3 hypercars right at the back of the field. So we'll have to see how they try and come through, but it's going to be difficult. I think once we settle down after about 5-10 minutes, we might see some more consistent racing, a few overtakes here and there, but not so much chaos. But I think early couple of laps, it could be a bit of a free-for-all.
Definitely could be here as well. Don't forget we are on the normal single file start here as well. So no Becky Ely in the NARS this season. The 2 a.m. starts messed me up a little bit. Oh, your pain. Just a little bit there as well. 2 a.m. understandable. Well, that is where me and Dara are at. It's 2:48 in the morning and we ain't even done the race there as either. So it's an hour and 20 race. So there we go. That's going to be...
We're done by 4.
Yeah, a 4 plus interviews, half 4. You know what I mean? We're going to get into bed as the sun comes up. Don't worry. Who needs sleep? Sleep's for the weak. There's Becky Ely, who's sitting in Canada at the moment in the freezing cold with snow all around her. So, you know, hey, is it really that bad? Here we go. We're going to be getting this up and running very, very shortly. Hopefully this mad case of stuttering that's all of a sudden developed, it will settle itself back down once more, and I'm hoping that is just a slight little issues with the server, but I'm sure it will hopefully kick in once the cars get running here, guys, as well. Don't forget, orange zone between turn 1 and turn 6, okay? Then it's all good for the rest of the lap. Just the penalties in them sections will be a lot harsher than normal. Over the line we go. Dan Kirby fires us off once more, and now we are up and running here straight away. And Dan Kirby has done what Dan Kirby's done best. He secured the front. He's gone out and absolutely done what he needed to do. He's crushed the opening lap here as well. In the GT3s, we've got Alessio Neto, who's just about to come over the line as well. And then we will be up and running with Alessio here in the GT3s. But let's see what can go on here as well. Can the GT3 survive down into turn 1? Over the line they go. Neto sets off and bolts away with Santos and John Uyan in your 3rd and 4th spot here as well. Uyan in that big roughing Mustang. Took it for a drive earlier on. It did literally want to kill me all in one foul swoop. But Dan Kirby, Alec King setting off the pace here, Dara, already. Nice clean start so far.
Yeah, they've got away, haven't they, Kirby and King at the moment. 1.2 seconds back to Alvarez from King, so they've done exactly what they would have wanted to do, and they've got away early from the rest of the pack. It's going to be interesting to see if they can continue to gap over these early stages and what Alvarez will have to do. Maybe he'll come under a bit of pressure from Bell and Chen, we'll have to see. But again, good start from Neto, as you said, in the GT3 class, because it looked a little bit tense there coming across the start-finish line, but he got a good enough run, and he is away in that green and yellow machine and on towards NASCAR 1 and 2 and back onto the oval.
Here they go now with Neto in the GT3. He's opened up about 6/10 of a gap. Currently at the moment, there's literally a 6/10 spread almost near enough across the GT3s, apart from down here with Oliver Day. Sat in the pack at the moment, Oliver in that McLaren 720S, chasing down David Anderson, and he's got John Meyer right behind him also as well. So there's action developing here. The hypercars are a little bit more spread out. We've got Lanny Hall, who is currently on track there as well. He's chasing down Gwilym Bank, Lanny in the Acura AR6. William sitting in front of him in the Cadillac V-Series currently here as well. Dara, it's a bit of a tough one, this, because it's not quite a 2-hour-long endurance, but it's not a 45-minute sprint. It kind of sits in that middle bubble of an enduro sprint, maybe. That's what we could call it.
Yeah, it's that funny kind of time, isn't it? Because it's longer than an hour, it's shorter than 2 hours, but it's then not your usual 1 hour 30. So it's just about in the middle. It's going to be difficult to for these guys to really get into a rhythm and then work out how many laps there is left. Because, like you said, it's not a sprint race where you have, you know, you're just going for it all the way to the end and you're thinking, oh, it's going to be 15 laps of just foot to the floor, and it's not a 2-hour endurance race, and you're thinking, I'm going to sit back a little bit, give them a little bit more space, go for it later in the race. It's kind of that middle phase where you don't really know whether you're going to have to go for it or sit back a bit. So I think we're going to see a difference in approach from quite a few of these drivers, and with 49 on the grid, there's definitely going to be a few that go somewhere and a few that go the other. But looking at the front here, that's Mike Bell coming through on Alvarez. They're very easily down in towards the opening corner. I was going to say King and Kirby now. 4 seconds in front already.
Yeah, they fly. When they're up and running, they are literally flying. Top Mountjoy's got Norm Graff sat in front of him. There's a couple of battles in the hypercars here as well. A battle that we just watched for Alvarez there, and a battle for Rodriguez and Brian Hall. There's a battle down here with Tom Mountjoy, who's in that orange and blue. He's chasing down Norm Graff here as well. Or in the GT3's development at the moment, we have lost Ken Scott already. Ken is 3 laps down, and I believe he's a DNF before we've even gone anywhere. So unfortunately for Ken, no chance of him here. I'm not entirely sure what happened, but you can see there on the left hand side, King Kirby out in front with Bell 4.3 seconds back from that. Alvarez behind that, Hall and Rice. So it's 19 seconds already here as well in the Hypercar Pros. Hypercar AMS, Chen and Rodriguez, they have just swapped places here as well. There they are on your screen currently at the moment. So nice little pockets of battles. Rodriguez in the Cadillac, Chen in the Porsche 963. Good mix of manufacturers at the top here as well. Dara, not a completely one manufacturer dominated field at the moment, and that's what we like to see.
Yeah, it's nice to see everybody being competitive. It doesn't really matter which car you choose just yet, and we'll have to see if Chen's going to come around the outside here of Rodriguez, or is that? I think that's actually I'm not too sure who that was coming around the outside, but that is an overtake on Rodriguez. I think it was someone
Brian
from the pro class.
Yeah, Brian
Yeah,
Hall.
Brian Hall coming through. That's why it wasn't showing up as a change on the tower. Yeah, Brian Hall coming through. Important to get through early on for likes of Brian Hall. He's racing Alvarez. He's a few seconds back already. But I think we're not far off starting to see the hypercars mixed with the GTs, and I think in fact we already are seeing that. I think King and Kirby have made their way through the first few GTs. Yeah, here they are. Here is where we're going to see quite a lot of the action, I think, over the next hour and 5 minutes. It's how well can these hypercars get through the GT3 cars?
Yeah, the last thing they want to really be doing is staying out. I think the thing is King has taken Kirby in that bit of traffic. I think that's the thing here as well, and I think that's one of the things that we have just seen is Alec King has managed to master the traffic a little bit better there beforehand. Now Kirby's kind of playing the patient game. King's up in front of us at the moment. You can see here as well as he's just about to go up the inside of that Mustang there. Great job from Kirby. Now he's just going to whiz all the way around the outside currently at the moment and hopefully get this done here as well. So I think it's going to be really exciting to see how this one pans out. I think the King Kirby is probably going to be the main battle we're going to be really interested to see. And as we say, the two fastest men on the track, Dara, two men sitting beside each other in the pit box as well. What could go wrong?
Oh yeah, absolutely nothing, I'm sure. I'm sure they'll have an easy race, nothing will happen, and they'll both get to the end in one piece without ever crossing paths. No, there's definitely going to be some action between those two at the front. We're going to see here King making his way around the outside, just about squirming his way through the International Horseshoe, weaving through the GT3s. It can be easy, very easy, to have some contact, particularly in this infield section, because the track does tighten up a bit around the dog leg. I mean, if you misjudge it just a little bit, you could find yourself spearing off into the barrier after a little bit of contact with the GT3 car, and that could really ruin your race. So you've got to really be careful. But as we've just seen here, Alec King, the second you get onto these onto the oval, it's a breeze, just fly past.
Yeah, you do, as long as they stay obviously predictable there for the GT3s. So that was basically not very long at all here for them to start going up the inside of the GT3s. It's insane that we're only on lap 6 and they've already started lapping the GT3s already here. I just cannot believe that that has even happened so quickly. But then fast nature of Daytona, that's probably why it would happen here as well, Dara, because yes, it's a decent amount of length, it's like 3.5 miles, but it's a quick 3.5 miles, isn't it? 4 of these corners, should we say NASCAR 1, 2, 3 and 4, are spent practically full flat. So there was always going to pick them up, apart from the inside here, which is the infield section. That's probably the trickiest part of the circuit, to be honest.
Yeah, and we did see, as Alex King just drops a wheel into the grass there, we did see when Alex King was coming through last lap that he wasn't gaining too much on the GT3s, particularly through the dogleg just up here, having to back off relatively equal to what the GT3s are doing. Of course, it's still faster, but not as fast. So with the oval sections, they're just eating time off the GT3s. I think a tighter, more technical circuit might see that change. I think thinking about down the calendar, we could see a couple of tracks where there isn't that much of an advantage for the hypercars, but as it is, Daytona, as you mentioned, it's very fast, it's very flat out, and you're going to catch these cars very quickly. But you should be able to, as you said, if they're predictable, they're going to get through, just like Alec King is doing here. There's 1, 2, this is where it could get difficult, though. You've got to slot back into the train, down into Le Mans chicane, I should say. So you just got to be careful about where you make the moves. We often see quite a lot of incidents between different classes happen in that Le Mans chicane where there's just a bit of a misjudgment.
Yeah, definitely is there as well. Pick up Vinicius de Oliveira in that Mercedes. Got Mike Olsen right in front of him at the moment here as well. And he's there and going well, they were 3 wide with a hypercar in the middle, but we've got 2 Mercedes here on track battling away. Mike there behind in that Lamborghini Hurricane, chasing down Vinicius Oliveira and Daniel Frass here as well. There's more of the GT3s wanting to get involved here. This is getting quite into a little bit of a train with Stuart Barge at the back here as well. He's on the back end of this train here, Dara. A lot of action taking place down in the bottom end of the GT3s already.
Yeah, and I think that's what we were expecting, because it's so easy. In comparison to the hypercars, you'd say, to follow in the GT3s. Of course, you might lose a little bit of time if you don't, or if the hypercar comes through in an awkward space, or there may be a little bit of contact, but generally you don't lose the time or gain the time in the way that the hypercars do when they're coming through the pack. So I think we're going to see these packs stay relatively close throughout the race, and it's just going to be a case of who can make their way through towards the end the best, who can manage the hypercars coming through the best as well. So, I mean, there's still an hour to go. There's still a long way for these guys to think about how they're going to construct their race, but very quickly, it's going to turn into a bit of a sprint to the end.
Yeah, it definitely will be, and I think that's going to be an interesting one to see how this is turning out here as well. I think it could be rather interesting. I think the battles, for me, I think are going to be amazing. You know, earlier on, obviously, for my own fact-finding mission, I went bouncing out on R-Factor in the hypercars, and I can tell you one thing, they absolutely sound incredible. The job the guys have done at Storm Gang are just amazing, and especially in this Lamborghini. Just listen for a second. Oh, and I can tell you one thing, when you hit the brakes and start changing gear, that thing wants to kick you out of the car here as well. A good job I don't have any form of butt kicker on my back or anything like that, because it probably would have hurt like hell, to be honest with you, Dara. But you can just see that the effort and all of it that's got into it with these cars as well. They look beautiful, they sound amazing, there's so much detail on them. And now these guys are getting them to take it out in anger. Some maybe for the first time here as well. So there's, and I suppose the only good thing for that is they're at Daytona Roval, but they could be at a more difficult circuit like Sebring.
Yeah, it's a track that everybody knows, inside and out realistically. Again, it's not a track where there's too much going on realistically. I mean, a lot of the track is the oval. The road part isn't necessarily the most technical track that we'll go to on this North American calendar. But, I mean, yeah, you were saying that the guys at Storm Gang have done a fantastic job in making the cars. They do look fantastic and they do sound great as well. it's partly down to them, but it's also partly down to the drivers to produce some great racing. We've seen it so far with a lot of these GT3s, particularly lots of different cars, lots of different manufacturers, still very close together on track, which is great to see. And it's just testament to the work that they have been doing over the course of the new year and the winter and the new year. So I'm very excited for the season ahead, realistically. I mean, this is the first, 15-20 minutes of Daytona in the opening race. We've already seen some tight trains, some interesting battles going on, and yeah, it's good to see King and Kirby going at it together. There's still only 2 seconds between them.
Yeah, they are. I think King's handled the traffic a little bit more on the upside than Kirby has there. Stuart Barge here, that is in front of James Walker there as well. So they're having a continued battle here once more. This is Walker in the McLaren 720. Stuart Barge in the Ferrari 296 here. They got rid of the old Ferrari, upgraded to the new one. So that's what they've got currently at the moment. I do find this absolutely fascinating, the way they go in and program and, you know, mod the cars into the game itself. And I think it's an incredible testament to some of them here as well. We do seem to still having a little bit of a server stutter going on once more. We're hoping it will start settling down here as well. We have got 56 minutes remaining, so please bear with us. There is physically nothing I am able to do about it right now. There's just nothing I can do, so please bear with us on that one here as well. But thank you so much for that one. King's out in front, Kirby 2.5 seconds. Angelidis is leading the Hypercar AMS as well. Bossman himself, George Angelidis in the Acura AR6. Out in front from Gwilym Benk, currently in the Cadillac V Series, is 1 second out there. Neto is just running away with the GT3 Dara currently at the moment with an 8.5, well, nearly 9.5 second lead.
I think we saw in qualifying that we mentioned it just before we started the broadcast that he was something like a second clear of anybody else in the category, which is absolutely just mind-boggling realistically. At a track like Daytona, where I mentioned you can't really gain or lose too much time in too many places, as we see. That's Fast and De Oliveira coming together just about. They make it through the international horseshoe, but yeah, not the best line there from Daniel Fast. He may come under a bit of pressure from Johnny Gutierrez, but there is a hypercar coming through as well. I think it's an Alpine hypercar. Judging by the big A on the rear on the shark fin there. So yeah, just coming through there. But yeah, I mean, back to Neto. Yeah, he has somehow found so much pace in a lot of places. Oh, who was that? Adrian Rice.
He was the Alpine coming through there as well, and he just, well, got it wrong coming into turn 7. Coming out of 6 onto 7, and he just got it completely Pete Tong as well. So unfortunately for Rice, not an ideal scenario. Again, though, was that rushing the move over the GT3s there, Darrell? Because he was in the mix of it with the GT3s at the time that happened.
It's what we've been talking about all the way up to now. It's that the hypercars, they've got to make their way through the GT3s. If anything, that's their hardest challenge. Getting the lap times in is kind of irrelevant when you've got GT3s coming at you constantly, and it's just trying to adapt to getting through these GT3s that's going to see you win the race, get past your competitors by using these back markers. And yeah, a mistake there. Either he just misjudged the braking, so nearly went into the back of a GT3. Either way, you'd presume, because he was in such close proximity to a few GT3s, it was probably a cause of that. But he's got a little bit of clean air now, and he might be able to get through this infield section without meeting another one. But, you know, they are much quicker, the hypercars. He might see one just into that same turn 6, turn 7 area.
Yeah, 53 minutes on the clock. We've jumped on board with Johnny Gutierrez in the Mercedes. Got Concalves in the McLaren 720 right behind him here as well. And you can see some of the work, I think, is really, really interesting to see. These cars are a different breed, aren't they? You know, you get into a new GT3 and it's like that new car feeling, you know, and then you're running through the list of cars here, Darren, to try and work out which one's going to work for you and which one isn't going to work for you. These guys are in that specific moment right now, getting used to what they've got underneath them. They've spent time to set them up. They've spent time to go into them, you know, change all the gearing, edit the springs and everything else. They've spent all of this time all getting into the cars and getting them set up for this one moment. How then are they going to cope when Daytona is over and we've got to wait, what is it, 3 months March until the next one?
Yeah, I worked it out as we were talking about it earlier. I think it was 9 weeks until the next race. So they're going to have a lot of time to work out what their preferred choice is. And it's often more difficult, isn't it? When you've got so much choice, you don't really know what to go for. You can think of the pros and cons of each. And if it goes well for you, then that's great. That's fantastic. But if it goes badly, you'll then be sat thinking, well, this car would have served me better in this race because of X, Y, Z. And, you know, it can be a little bit more difficult. When there is just the one car, which you do get in some series, you know, people, all right, I'm in that car, I'm driving that car, I've got to exact everything I can out of that car. When you've got the choice and you've got the pros and cons of each, it can be so difficult just to pick one. And that can be a challenge pre-race, just deciding which car to go in, because you'll always be thinking in the back of your mind, if it's not going right, then a bit of regret that you're going to have that you maybe didn't choose the right car. So going to be an interesting theme throughout the season, but I've just seen King is into the pit lane early on.
Yeah, King's into the pits. We've been going now for about 27 to 28 minutes, so King is in there. Don't forget, King and Kirby are sharing a pit stall. So Dan Kirby, of course, the Hypercar Pro last season champion. He was in the Acura last season. He's now returning in the Isotta Fraschini here as well, or what was it, the Risotto Frappuccini here as well. Laddie Hall has also returned, last season's Hypercar AM champion, planning as well, back in the Acura. He stayed in the ARXOX. Johnny Gutierrez is part of the GT3 Pro, was the GT3 Pro champion here as well, and he's back in that Mercedes AMG. He hasn't actually changed, he hasn't gone anywhere, he's stuck with the German brand. And Eric Jacobs, who was in the Lexus RCF last season as well, as they get some major issues there as well, as hopefully returning in the Mercedes. See, there we go, Eric Jacobs here as well. He's up in the LMGT3 Pros now, rather than being in the AMs. That whenever a pro, like whenever an AM gets promoted to the pros, it's really quite interesting to see how they can handle it. Now, Eric at the moment is unfortunately behind some AMs. He's behind the AM of Josh Miklinski. He's behind the AM of Gino Bardelli. Is he going to sit back and think, I shouldn't be here. I need to be back where I was?
I think he will. I think it's, yeah, like you said, it's difficult when you move up a class, but at the same time, he's got the experience. He knows he was the champion the season before. It may take a little bit of a time to adjust to the difference. I mean, of course, in the AM category, you'll be fighting in and around GT or the Pro category drivers, but you're realistically fighting your fellow AM drivers. So all of a sudden, get promoted to the Pro class and you're fighting everyone around you. You're not necessarily thinking, well, I can let them pass because I'm not really fighting them in a championship. You're fighting them in the championship. You've got to get their way, got to get your way through. So it might take a little bit of an adjustment over the first couple of races, but I think over time, I think he will adjust quite well. He's shown he's had the pace last season. So it's clear that the pace is there. He just needs to work out a way to make that work in terms of the Pro category. So I think he'll take to it after a couple of races. But for now, he's not doing too badly. He'd still be, as you said, P3 in the GT3 AM class. So it's still not a bad position to be in. It just looks slightly worse when you've got that many more cars to fight with.
Yeah, back there as well. Interesting thought on that one there, Stefani. Are there double stinted tyres? Now, I've just been sent, my secret pit roving reporter sent me more information here as well. The information goes, the new tyres for the GT3 are really different. Suits some cars better than others and brings unique challenges. The biggest challenge for the GT3s now, looking after the tyres. So, in answer to your question, I would find that very highly debatable here, Darren, that they're going to be double stinting tyres. If the new tyre model that they've got, based off the Michelin tyres, of course, how can I put it, as squidgy as what we think, they certainly aren't going to be double stinting, are they?
No, I can't imagine they would. I think, you know, the tyres that much more into a second stint, you're going to lose more time by doing so than by changing them realistically. So I think we'd see quite a few of them change their tyres. We haven't seen the GT3s in yet, which makes me think we're probably going to get the one stop over the course of the race. The early pit stops from the hypercars makes it look like they'll go for a two-stop over the course of the race. But yeah, I can't see the GT3s not changing tyres, especially if they're only doing the one stop. I don't think it would make sense, really, to do double stint, especially if they're having to look after them that bit more.
Yeah, I wouldn't really, to be honest, see the logic in not changing them. I'm the same way of thinking of you. It doesn't make sense. You might as well go in, change them, and crack on, you know, because it saves you almost trying to look after them for this amount of period of time here. So we are looking at two Mustangs at the moment. I've got to be honest, these cars look absolutely incredible. This is Cole McMillan and Tom Nacella here as well for these guys. They're fighting for 5th overall in the LMGT3 AMS. And as you've just seen there, McMillan go past Nacella and take the lead. I will say one thing about this car: don't overdrive it like I did earlier on, because it does want to terminate your life as soon as getting in the car. It's a good job I was not in it in real life, because I probably would be wrapped up in a hospital bed in plaster casts about as well. It was quite an experience, Dara. I think that's the way I'm going to put that.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it was your most fun day of driving cars on sim racing games, but yeah, no, these cars, it just shows how good these drivers are as well. They're able to control these cars very well, especially the guys at the front of the hypercars, Kirby and King, a long way in front. They have absolutely mastered the craft so far, and are nearly 20 seconds clear of Alvarez and Bell behind. So they are really showing some incredible pace at the moment. But even in these GT3s, like we've mentioned, that a few of the drivers have stayed with the cars that they were in last season. A few have changed, and I think for some of them it's just going to be the Mercedes drivers who have stayed in the Mercedes. It's just a bit like home in that car. They know exactly what they're going to get. They know exactly how it's going to drive, and they're not too worried about it kicking them round, maybe spinning them, just absolutely wanting to put them into a wall in every corner possible. But yeah, I think it's a toss-up for some of the drivers. I think for some of the cars that were easier to drive, they might find it easier to adjust to a new car. But if, like you, they find a lot of the new cars difficult to drive, they might just stick to their home habits.
Yeah, but that could just be a skill issue. I'm not going to lie down. A skill issue, not high up there, you know what I mean?
It's got to be nice.
Yeah, I know, but you don't have to be. I relatively know I have a skill issue when it comes to driving. I just wanted to take out the hypercars and see what they were doing for me, and then I wanted to go and drive the Mustang, which then favors either. So we've got this little battle in the Mercedes happening at the moment. Daniel Fass and Johnny Gutierrez battling it out here as well. They are in the free row category. Of course, we've got John Uyan up the road in the Mustang with Gilles Lalonde. They're in the hypercar coming through the field as well at this moment in time. He's trying to slice his way back through once more. So still got some interesting battles materializing over the back end of this race. We have lost 4 drivers: Mike Olsen, Dave Coors, Ken Scott, and Vinicius de Oliveira has unfortunately DNF'd out of this one. So there you go. It seems to be a time of that evening with about 43 minutes. I want to just check on one thing though, Dara. Tiredness. Hour 20 race, are we going to get tired?
We may do at the end of the race, but I'm not too sure. I mean, in endurance racing stints, you're looking at about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, if not slightly longer. So I think think some of these guys should be all right, and I think because that's a very wide line from Johnny Gutierrez. He's done very well to hang on to the car through turn 1.
Yeah.
In all fairness, but he's lost the position again. That's unlucky for him. But no, I think we might see a little bit of fatigue creeping in at the end, but I think that might only come if you're driving around on your own, and that is absolutely not what anybody is doing right now. Either you're overtaking or being overtaken, you've always got to be alert. So I think these guys, a little bit of adrenaline might kick them through, but you never know. We might see a few mistakes creeping in through fatigue at the end of the race.
Yeah, well, let's see what happens here as well and see how they get on. I'll give you the top 5 on the left-hand side, as you can see here as well on your screen. Kirby still out in front with King, right? It's nearly a second behind him now. Alvarez in 3rd, Bell in 4th, and then Hall in 5th. Hypercar Angelides is still hung on to his lead with Chen, Rodriguez, Graf, and Ducati rounding out the top 5 there. GT3's Neto, he's out in front by 14 seconds, which was always going to happen. He is incredibly quick. Is Neto and is absolutely flying. Chen, Graf, and Ducati. Santos, Tammy, Locke, and Ugan are your top 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then in the Jams is Bardelli, Day, Strauhal, and Macmillan. I want to pick up on Jerry Chen here. At the moment, he is in 3rd place in Hypercar AMS here as well. And I believe battling with Diego Rodriguez in Jerry Chen. So Chen's trying to clear Rodriguez for this 2nd place in the AMS here at the moment, Dara, and this could be a great little materialization with 14 minutes on the clock.
This is where you can use the GT3 cars to try and find a way through. If Diego Rodriguez gets a little bit caught up behind a hypercar through this infield section, which he's not done up to this point, you can try and slip your nose down the inside and make the move when he's not really expecting it. So he's in that range where he is just lurking around, waiting for a little mistake, but wide in turn 6 there is not going to help him out until he's lost another 6-7 tenths through there. So maybe dropping off the back a little bit, but if he can regain that time, he is in that window to try and find his way through when they're up to the back markers.
Franco Alvarez here as well. He is in the Porsche 963. Got Mike Bell in the Lamborghini right behind him. The G3s have started coming in for their pit cycles as well. They lasted a long old time, Darren, nearly practically 40 minutes, 5 minutes for some of these G3s.
But the question is, though, is that they've lasted, because what we had about 1 hour 15 on the clock, I think, so 1 hour 12 or so, so they've lasted just over half an hour, but are they going to be able to get to the end? That's the question, because this first stint, the first stint's going to be shorter than the second stint, so, you know, that's going to be an interesting question if they have to extend that second stint a little bit longer. The fact that a lot of them are in makes you think that it should be fine. That might be something you have to look at the end of the race.
Exactly. If they get to the end there as well, as I say, it's a big thing for tyres in the GT3s, so it will be a big surprise if anybody manages to double stint these tyres. As you say, might as well change them. Everybody's going to do the same. You have grip through your next stint, and you'll be able to go again at the end, towards the end of the race that haven't changed their tyres. You can see Gutierrez, Walker, Frazes in the pit, Stroll, McMillan and Day are all in the pits as well. Smith's just coming to the pits once more. So great little pockets of action here as well. The Seller is still down here at the moment here with Miller, I believe, who is behind him. And the Seller, they're coming into the pits with James Bowders. So in pits as well. Some more pit stop strategies taking place here, Darryl. Would you look at saying that definitely I think the hypercars have got to pit one more time, but do the GT3s, are they going to get to the end? I've got a funny feeling if they've already gone, what was it, 1 minute, so it was a 1 minute, take 1.2, I reckon they should be able to get to the end. Stop.
They probably should. We might see a couple of late race tyre drop-offs, because complete fall-offs, like last lap or two, from some of the drivers that pitted that lap earlier. But I think they should. They should be fine. We see JT Tammy now coming. He will definitely be fine to get to the end because he's done more than half of the race up to this point, or just about half the race, just to get to the end. So I think he will be absolutely fine. But you know, maybe a slight question over the rest of the GT3s. I'm sure they know exactly what they're doing. But they that's a spin into the Le Mans chicane. I'm not too sure who that was.
Lanny Hall.
But I think it was a hypercar.
It may have been Lanny Hall there, where he went off.
A weird one there.
Not really sure what that was about. Very bizarre there from Lanny Hall on that one. So
May have just lost the car in the first part of the chicane. The car maybe bottomed out slightly and just rear end left him. But yeah, a bit of a weird incident. He's coming into the pit lane either way. But I think back to your point before, hypercars I think definitely have another pit stop that they need to do. I think they only went about 25 minutes or so on the first stint, so there was no way they were going to get to the end. So I think they've got one more stop to come. But now Kirby and King are right together. Oh, there was a bit of lag there because I think that was King just driving through the wall, but he wasn't doing that, of course, as they run into the Le Mans chicane, getting very close together. We might see a move for the lead shortly.
yeah, King's definitely looking over the back end of Kirby. Let's be honest about it. He's going to want to try and get through. Kirby is in front of it, and this is the going on around the other way, but on track we've got Kirby. Yeah, there we go. But time and time corrected it. As King's just gone around the outside of Dan Kirby. Kirby's holding on to that inside line. Is he going to be able to keep it there as there's a hypercar coming out of the pits here? King's going to try and run around the outside through turn 2 and 3. Into the 4 we go, and Dan Kirby does come out on top. Got a funny feeling these guys are going to be going at it for pretty much the last 35 minutes here, Dara, and could provide us with some great action.
It was a great defensive re-overtake, you'd say, from Daniel Kirby. It really looked like he had lost the position to Alec King, but he just about stuck his nose in the inside. He was left enough room by Alec King and just about kept the position. It was a great bit of racing between the two drivers, but you're absolutely right. We're going to see these two go at it, I think, for the rest of the race. They're going to have to be careful of the back markers in the GT3s. Well, maybe not back markers, but the GT3 cars. And we'll have to see who will come out on top. It's going to be difficult, I think, for King to find his way through on evidence of the fact that he couldn't find his way around the outside at turn 1. There are lots more opportunities for him to take, but as you see here, into the Le Mans chicane, he's going to find his way to the inside of the GT3. But I think he was too worried about sticking in behind. He would have lost far too much time, but at the same time, that nearly cost him the chance of the win.
Yeah, because if he'd gone into that GT3 then, he would have been definitely in trouble. Don't get me wrong, he had to make the move. Try and get in front here, but unfortunately it cost him everything, and it's just absolutely crazy that you jeopardize it so late on. And I say that late on because we've been going for a while, but he has managed to go through now. Alec King once more tagging a GT3 on his way through as Dan Kirby now goes round him. Well, I think Alec's got to kind of settle down a little bit. He's looking a little bit rough and raggedy like that.
Yeah, I think the adrenaline is very much pumping at the moment for Alec King as he comes in towards the dog leg. But he's got a hypercar now in front of him. It's slightly more difficult to lap there, but it'll go around the outside. Got to be careful not to go too wide there, but no, you're absolutely right. He does look far more aggressive than Dan Kirby does at the moment, but it's got him 6/10 of an advantage here, so it's worked out in the end. Well, for now, but there's still over half an hour to go, so he could very much well lose this once again. Still another pit stop as well. That's the important thing, I think, for King. They said that Alex said that they were sharing the grid, or the pit box, sorry. So being ahead of the other drivers is going to be even more important because you get to choose when you pit. And that could be crucial towards the end of the race.
Yeah, I don't know the fact that Kirby was in first, whether or not King's going to get much of a choice here. 'Cause I'm wondering whether or not Dan Kirby will dictate if I need to go. I as much as like that whole the leader out in front takes the pits first, right? And they do it in one in team, whoever's leading the track gets the shout and stuff like that. To be honest, I don't believe Kirby's going to be too worried about it here as well. He knows what he's doing. He knows when he needs the pit. And if they end up coming into the pit side by side, then they end up coming into the pit side by side. I think Kirby pitted earlier than King. So I think for King, he's got to make a decision if he's going to take that ability from Kirby away from him to basically make sure that he covers the first off on the pit stop, or let Kirby go and have it, who looks like for a brief moment there, he's just been held up behind this GT.
Moment there actually into the international show. I'm not too sure. That's definitely a moment from one of the other hypercars. Yeah, going across the grass there through the second horseshoe, but I think he had a moment there because he's lost a few seconds. He's now 3.5 back from King. He was only about a second when they crossed the line, so he's really lost a bit of time in that infield section. We didn't quite see what it was, but he might have had a half spin somewhere, which cost him the time. But yeah, we'll have to see, because I think Alec King did lead the early part of the race, then Dan Kirby came in earlier, was able to get the undercut, and then it's forced Alec King to then make the move back through on him. We'll have to see if it's rinse and repeat for the second stop, but we're very much getting to that stage, aren't we? I think either this lap next or maybe one more is when they're going to come in, but it's definitely going to be soon.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to be looking round about probably 25 minutes. They want to be able to make sure that they can definitely get to there. John Uyan in this Mustang is chasing down Walker currently at the moment in that McLaren there as well. Mustangs were looking strong. They were looking like the car to beat here, Dara, but they're not really repping at the top of the standards at the moment, as we got two Mercs leading 3 pros, and that's Bardelli, I believe, in his BMW. So although the Mustangs come in with a great flurry and they were going to be bopped and they were going to everything else because too much, they're not really doing what everybody expected.
No, they're not, but you'd have to say, I mean, the BMWs are good at the, sorry, the Mercedes, I should say, have done well. I mean, they're a good car for acceleration. I mean, you know, through this middle section out onto the back straights, getting good acceleration can be important, but you'd say that straight line speed might be a little bit more important around a track as fast as Daytona, but either way, Sherry Hamilton's going very, very slowly through this infield. He's actually getting overtaken by a GT3.
I'm not too sure what he's up to.
There might be an issue here.
Yeah, I'm not entirely...
Oh no, that's a lag.
I'm not entirely sure what he's up to be honest, because pretty much everybody through that is coming near him. So, I'm not sure what Jerry Hamilton is quite doing. Okay. But let's have a look at JT Tammy here as well. Here he's in second place, of course. Once more is JT Tammy, and he's battling away with Mateus Santos, swapping backwards and forwards here for second in class. Dara at the moment, JT in the Lexus. We've got Mateus in the Mercedes. Coming into turn one. Side by side, nobody wants to give this up. They're going to be side by side as well through turn 2 and 3. Into the horseshoe they go. They're still side by side. They surely aren't going to be able to run the dog leg like this. This is going to go. Oh, he's pushed him out onto the grass. Oh, and a good battle comes to the end there.
I was about to say how great that battle was, and then JT Tammy just got shoveled onto the grass, and I think he was flashing his lights in frustration there as he was bouncing his way back onto the track. But it was a great battle through turn 1, 2, and 3 on their way down to the international horseshoe. I didn't think they'd be able to go side by side through there, and it ended in dust being kicked up on the rear end of that Lexus. But yeah, unfortunate there, but a good battle all the same. I'm sure Tammy will come back a little bit more as we work our way through. But we look at this battle now for P7. So, you know, that battle may have ended. This battle's just getting underway between James Walker and John Uyan. One on the McLaren, one on the Ford Mustang. And they look very different, don't they, these two cars? But seem equally as fast, and I think we might see Johnny Ian go for a move shortly.
It's quite interesting when you look at the design of these, because the McLaren looks like he's made for racing. It's got that low front, it's got that slope to it, it's got curves that, you know, some women would die for. And then you go to the Mustang, and it looks like a house brick on wheels. You know, it's just there. It's just this chunk with a lump in the back, a wing stuck on it, and a body kit, and said, right, go race. You know what I mean? And that's the difference between them. You've got sleek, stylish, sexy-looking McLaren, and then you just got the lump in the middle. And it's amazing that it's able to do what it can do on a racetrack when I can think about it, because it's not a light car in general, you know. And think, how are you still managing to do what you do? You know, it weighs 1,315 kilos, and that's just absolutely insane. But when you look back at the weight stats, though, the McLaren 720 weighs more than the Mustang, but the Mustang looks bulkier of the two.
Yeah, low center of gravity, isn't it? In the nice sleek cars, it's just a bit of a unit. It's got its shoulders up, it's got its arms out, and it's coming for you on the back of you. But the McLarens are the ones just sneaking their way through the shallows. We'll see a move here for P2. This is JT Tammy getting a little bit of revenge, I think, on Matt down the inside. He's got the move done, and he's up into P2 in class, I do believe, as they make their way through on a GT3. The car that could actually be Ross Smith, who we spoke to pre-race in that pink machine. I think there were a couple of them, so it may not be him, as JT Tammy gets re-overtaken. It is Ross Smith, so he's involved in this battle. He may not be involved directly, but he's causing a little bit of frustration, I think, for JT Tammy there, because he had the move done, but then he's been re-overtaken by Santos.
Yeah, unfortunately for JT Tammy, they have to go one more here as well in that Lexus. Draft will start pulling them in now. You're going to be able to see that gap closing and closing and closing. Battle straight all the way. Ross is really... okay, so this is the thing. When we talk about sports car racing, and I've been told off before about this as well, there's no real blue flags here. But Ross, you need to make a decision there, sir. At least give them help on the facilitation of overtaking. Do blue flags in multi-class, do they count as much as they do in a normal single series with one car brand? Or are we looking at the fact that they should have... It does count when you're lapping a car in your class?
I think I think it counts, but I think just generally, just in the back of your mind, it's less significant just because you just have realistic blue flags all the way through with the hypercars coming through. Yeah, I think the psychology of it's a little bit different, but no, I do think, you know, blue flags in class should probably be upheld. It just depends. I mean, of course, you know, you look at championships like IndyCar, there are no blue flags, so or that you can keep yourself on the lead lap. I think that's the rule. So there's lots of different rules on it. There's lots of different arguments for it. But I think that if there are blue flags in your class, you probably should try and get out of the way. But psychologically, is there someone not facing the right way?
Brilliant bank. May have been Quillen Bank facing the wrong way here. Goes over the grass.
I think this is the aftermath. I think this may be a live picture.
Gone off already there, hasn't he? So we need to go back a little bit further. Got no rear wing.
Yeah.
Where did that go? No, we got it there. Where did Willem lose that rear wing? He hasn't. There it is.
That'll be where.
That'll be where. And then, of course, when he was sitting there on going down, downforce kicked in. Fortunately, his rear decided it wasn't going to do what it needed to do because it wasn't there in the first place. So, unfortunately for Quillen Bank, not an ideal scenario there, Dara, either. The rear wings are quite important on a hypercar, especially when they're going at the speeds they're going at.
Yeah, you kind of want all the composite parts to your car on it to make it go as fast as it should be, and yeah, that actually showed the consequences of not having a ribbon on your car, and you just lose your rear end, go round, and you're gonna have to pit for some quick repairs there, otherwise you are absolutely done in the race. And I think his chances have definitely vanished with that moment, but. You know, long season, 11 rounds. Yeah, I think we lost all the way towards, I think it's October that we finish on in. So it's a long season, lots of opportunities to recuperate those points, and I think he will probably come back stronger at Sebring in 9 weeks' time. It is a very long break, isn't it, between race 1 and race 2, but a lot of time to mull over, get some practice in, get know what car you want to use, and then execute it in the race. 1.2 hours again at Sebring, but yeah, lots of stories I think that are unfolding. I think Neto in the GT3s, we have to see if he can carry his dominance over, and Kirby and King as well. We have to see if they can do the same. I know that Kirby is 22 seconds ahead of King. Now, is that because maybe King took tyres, for example, in the pit stop, or that does seem like a very big gap that's opened up?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if that is part of the pit stop cycle, and I'm wondering if these guys are going to end up coming back together. However, Kirby hasn't gone do some search again. Kirby has pitted twice, mate. King's pitted twice as well, so anything where neither gentleman may have been involved in anything untoward. Kirby's come out in front, and like he's nailed it, to be honest with Dara here on this one, and King's lost a big old chunk of time somewhere.
It has been a mistake, presumably. I mean, 21 seconds is a massive amount of time to lose. But he must have made him. Oh, actually, thinking about it, when we saw Denk have that spin, there was another hypercar that kind of was facing him when he had that moment. Could that have been Alec King there?
It's possible.
I mean,
it's possible. Unfortunately for Gwilym Bank, it was a bit kind of tied up there as well, wasn't he? So yeah, not entirely sure on that one. To be honest with you, I think King may have just lost time. I'm sure we'll find out a little bit later on as well. And yeah, I think King possibly was on the tyre change there, and Kirby might have doubled. So it's possible that Kirby has doubled up his tyres at the beginning as well. And poor old Gwilym Bank, he has got his rear wing back on now as well. So his rear wing has been repaired there, Stefani. Thank you very much on that one. But unfortunately, is a long way down as Gwilym Bank here as well. George Angelidis still leading the Hypercar AMS by 34 seconds. Kind of gone about his business a little bit sneaky here today. He hasn't really got, hasn't really been involved in much, has he, as George Angelidis?
No, he's kind of just been quietly going about his business. Currently would be P5, I think, in the Hypercar Pro category. So he's doing a very good job at the moment, sitting very pretty at the moment. Got a very big gap behind him because I think Chen and Rodriguez are fighting it out between them. There isn't much of a gap between them either. So whilst those two fight, he's just going to gain even more time away from the rest of them, and he looks great in that Acura, isn't he? That purple and black livery looks fantastic, particularly under the lights. So yeah, he's been quietly going about his business, got through the traffic with ease, not had any of the big mistakes that we've seen from the likes of from Bank, who of course is sadly a couple of laps down on Kirby now. But yeah, it's been a very accomplished drive so far over the first, looking at 50, 52, 53 minutes or so.
Definitely picking up on the last lap times of Alec King there. Around about 1.1 second than Dan Kirby. So Alec King at the moment, sitting there with fresher rubber on his is definitely and going about 1 to 1.5 seconds quicker. We'll have a look over the next lap, see how it comes out here. So let's see what this one pans out to be. But Alec King could be closing in here, Dara, and could be closing in fast.
He's got to be careful though, because we saw him before. He was being a little bit aggressive, getting through the traffic. He's got to be careful not to make the same mistake again. If he has taken tyres and Kirby hasn't, then I think that that time gain over this last stint might become a little bit exponential, and he just might gain increasing amounts of time. Look, very late into the Le Mans chicane, he just gets it done. He needs to carry all the momentum he can. He's so far behind that he just cannot afford just to get stuck behind a GT car for 1 second. I mean, he needs to gain more than a second a minute at this rate. He's really, really under the cosh, but we'll have to see how much he can gain over the next 17 or 18 minutes or so.
On their last lap times here as well, and see what happens when they come over the line. See what he does here. Alec King, last lap time for Dan Kirby, I believe, popped up at a 1:35.45. Alec King was a lot quicker than that on a 1:33.777. So an absolute massive chunk that King's pulled out on Kirby this time. Is he going to be able to get him? He's got 17 seconds, got 17 minutes done.
Very tough ask, but he has just closed in about a second and a half in the last minute, so it might be on. We have to see. He's got a nice little bit of clean air through this infield section, which is exactly what you want when you're trying to chase down a large gap, but he hasn't really used it too much with his advantage. It's gone out to 17.3, 17.4, so it's not looking good for Alec King, but either way, himself and Dan Kirby have been in a class of their own tonight, and we'll have to see if they can carry it through the rest of the season. But that's definitely going to be the storyline, I think, in the hypercar category over the course of the season, is Dan Kirby against Alex King.
Absolutely, it's now down to 0.2 minutes on the clock. If King's going to do it, well, it's going to be the final lap, and he's going to be about a second behind, give or take here, unless he can close up all of a sudden a big old chunk. Neto's had to go back in to the pits there for the run. I wonder if that's going to open the way up for Gutierrez to come through and take that away. Gutierrez has gone through the bus stop. Neto's just stopping. So this could be quite dangerous here for Neto, and Gutierrez could, in fact, get this one if you're thinking about it here as well, because Neto is still there. Here comes Gutierrez now. Surely, I think that's the pit entrance. Neto's on his way out.
Easily.
He has got him, yeah. Gutierrez did get him in the end. So, and James Walker nearly got him as well, but Neto's a little bit further. Oh, I'm saying that, Neto's still in the pit lane, and that is a 37-mile-an-hour speed limit. It is dreadfully, painfully slow, and Neto's going to lose second to James Walker as well. There's Neto on the right-hand side. There's James Walker. What about Concalves? Is not far behind there either. JT Tammy's a little bit further back, but Concalves and Neto are going to finish it. Not very far apart here, especially as the fact that Neto just had to go into the pits there, Dara.
If Neto has fresh rubber on, he is going to fly over the next 15 minutes. But he's losing out with the cold tyres to Vinicius Goncalves here. Oh no, that's not him. This is Alicia Neto, sorry. He's having a lovely drive, trying to get through on a hypercar. Oh, that is the hypercar. We've seen him have a couple of incidents. Yeah, he's had a few incidents, I think. We've seen him spinning around a couple of times, but Alicia Neto, how quickly can he try and gain back to Walker here? He has shown lots of pace all night long. If he's got fresh tyres on, you'd think he'd fly past Walker. It's just a case of, can he get back to Gutierrez in the lead?
Oh, it's 10 seconds. He's got about 10, 11. So it's going to be a bit of a mission for him if he does do that. He's almost an Alec King, Dan Kirby 12.5. King last time out 33.6. Kirby 34.9. 1.3 seconds for Alec King here as well. And to be honest, Neto's got to do exactly the same, I think. Got to pull seconds and seconds out of him, because otherwise he's not going to get there in time.
Exactly. King is gaining enough at the moment, you'd say, to be right up there by the end, but Lucio Neto is definitely in a very similar boat. He's got, well, yeah, nearly 12 seconds and 13 minutes to do so. It's going to be very difficult indeed. I think he'll be looking to recover a P2 at least at the moment, but even that might be a little bit difficult to get through on Walker because he hasn't gained too much on the last tour of this Daytona Roval. So we'll have to wait and see. King has lost a little bit of time on this lap to Kirby. But these are a couple of fights I don't think we expected towards the last 50 minutes of this race.
Definitely not. We thought it was all going to be done and dusted and settled in. We have lost a few. Norgraf, Tucker Martin, Tom Mountjoy, Mike Olsen, Dave Cause, Ken Scott and De Oliveira. We have lost them ones, unfortunately, as well. But we've still got some action taking place. We've still got battles going to be materialising. We've still got Alec King on an absolute charge here as well. 12.6, 12.7 seconds, and only 12.3 on the clock, though. It's going to be touch and go for him.
It really is going to be touch and go over the last fifth of this race now, as we've done pretty much an hour, got 12 minutes to go. And it's into that stage when we were talking earlier about whether it be a sprint or a bit of an endurance race. It really is now a sprint. You've got to leave it all on the track. Just got to go as hard as you can in these closing laps. I mean, for the GT cars, because they're lapping around, 1 minute 46 at the moment. So they've got, you'd say, another 7 laps in them or so. But that's not many when you think about when you lose 1 lap, you're going to have 6 and then 5. And then it just feels like a sprint to the end completely. You've got to get the moves done now. You've got to gain the time if you can. But looking at Alec King, he's not really gaining enough, is he, up to Kirby anymore?
No, he's kind of dropped off a little bit as well. McQuarrie's got a penalty by the looks of it coming in here as well. Sprint Jura. Stefani, though. Sprint Jura.
Hypercar names, isn't it?
Yeah, what else could you... Right, there's still the GT3s coming in the pits here. Got a funny feeling Walker's got to go in and Gutierrez has got to go in, because yeah, Walker's pitted once, Gutierrez is pitted once, Neto and JT Tammy are pitted twice. Everybody around them is now starting to pit again. Are the GT2 stopping as well?
We said it when they had their first pit stops, didn't we? That they pitted just before half distance. We didn't know if they'd actually be able to make it to the end of the race, and maybe the evidence we're being shown here is that no, they can't. Maybe Neto could have seen that, pitted early just to anticipate it. I mean, seeing a lot of these guys come in already, and they've still got another 10 minutes to go in this stint. When, you know, that's another third of the stint that they've got to go if they're going to extend it. So yeah, Gutierrez is in. There you go. So he's not been able to extend the stint long enough. But I presume we'll probably see Walker in soon. He's not coming this lap, but I mean, if he's going to get to the monumental effort, and he's got to hold off Neto while doing it, so it's going to be difficult. But maybe Neto's played this perfectly.
Yes, I just all a little bit surprised that he was in where he went in, to be honest, but by the looks of it, the fact that they've pitted once and everybody around him is starting to pit twice. Gutierrez is lost it now. JT Tammy's going to go through on Gutierrez, so technically if Walker has got to go in, this should give Neto the win. Neto is there, literally right behind him anyway. So Walker's got to make a choice now. Either hangs this out and fights, or goes into the pits where he comes out. I'm just a little bit lost as to what Walker's going to do here and how late he left his pit stop in the first place. Whether or not get to the end. I'm not entirely sure if he can.
I think either you've got to pit this lap or you just got to go to the end. If you wait another lap, it's just you're gonna lose too much time. I think maybe the concern is that you'll run out of fuel, possibly. I mean, or maybe the tyres will just absolutely give up, maybe burst, whatever. But I don't know. I'd pit this lap if I was James Walker. I wouldn't risk going out to the end because even if you do pit, you're still looking at a top 5 finish. So, or maybe it might be slightly worse actually thinking about it because Gutierrez has come out in 6th. But either way, I'd still come in to not risk, and that's exactly what he's going to do. So he'll come in. Neto's going to retake the lead, and I think Tammy's going to take a comfortable P2 in the end.
I think there's all that worry about JT Tammy and they would have to pit, and he did pit. JT Tammy should come around and take this second place. Just stopping. Actually, I think it's just about as close as compilation about landed in your box there. JT Tammy has got himself back up in second place. Great job from JT Tammy. You can see there Kirby still winning the battle once more. King's in again.
I can see that one coming. Alvarez is going to overtake him here. There he goes through at turn 1. There he goes, just in the shot there. I don't know why. That's an interesting one from Alec King. Alvarez is just going to say thank you very much and pick up P2 here. I mean, he was never close enough to the top 2 you'd have thought to have ever been inside that top 2, but he might end up second in this race. I'm not sure what's happened to Alec King here.
Maybe he's pitted for Domes. Maybe he's anticipating that Dan Kirby might have a pit stop in him, or Alvarez might have a pit. With 6 and just under 7 minutes on the clock here, I'm not entirely sure that King's played that right, unless King's went so hard in that second sector that he's just melted out the fuel he had and melted out the tyres and had to stop. I can't answer the question why he would have done that.
I mean, it might be a reason that might have been the reason. Just going everything is why he was a second and a half quicker per lap than Dan Kirby. But we'll have to try and find out after the race. He's going to try and get through, flashing the lights here on another hypercar as he makes his way through, lapping into the Le Mans chicane. Does that relatively comfortably, but 11.5 seconds behind Alvarez. 6 minutes to go. That's an impossible task, surely.
Maybe it is, but Alvarez is.
Or is it?
Coming in. So are we saying then Hypercars 3 stops? Even Mr. Reese put that thing emoji. It's like, I'm not totally sure what's going on here. With some very late pit stops from some very surprising, because at the moment we're looking at GT3 are 2 stopping and the Hypercars are stopping.
I didn't really have that one written down on the bingo card, to be fair. Before this race, Kirby will stay out. But yeah, maybe there's a little bit of a worry as they make their way into the final laps here. I mean, what you're looking at? Oh, was Kirby rear end sliding out? Oh, that would look dangerous. But he crossed the line with about 5 minutes 20 left, lapping at about 1 minute 30. So 4 laps to go then for Dan Kirby. As it stands, we'll just have to see how it plays out here. I mean, King is a minute behind. Realistically, without a pit stop, Kirby should have this wrapped up. It just depends whether he needs one for fuel or not.
I think that's the thing. I know there's a conversation going on there as well about the fact whether or not the Hypercars are stopping for splash and dash. It may seem to be the case that might actually be where we're at with it. But Kirby can now afford to come in and get that splash and dash, and I don't think he's going to be under much trouble from Alec King behind him, blatantly honest. I think George Angelidis and Jerry Chen are still going at it. Jerry Chen now leading the Hypercar AMS here as well. Angelidis stops Jerry Chen's on 2, so if the norm is going to be happening, Chen should be going in at some point, or going to run the last 3.5 minutes here, Dara. There's some very confusing Confused strategies at the moment as well with what's going on here.
Yeah, I don't think we didn't really see this coming, did we? We thought one stop for the GTs, two stops for the hypercar. Everyone's hunky dory. They'll get to the end. Everything's fantastic. But we do see Dan
Kirby's
Kirby
in.
into the pit lane. Yeah, could we see a masterclass here by Alec King? We'll have to see how big the gap is when he comes out. Of course, he's still in the pit lane. I don't know if he's actually... yes, he has been in his pit, but I think he will come out very much clear of King here as the time just closes and closes and closes. He trundles down the pit lane. What is it, 37 miles an hour down there. Alec King, he's absolutely nowhere near, and Daniel Kirby's coming out of the pit lane. So he will cruise his way out back into the lead. But was that question, wasn't there? I mean, new cars, of course, with the new, well, the cars have been redone a little bit in the simulation. Maybe some unexpected things happening with the cars by the drivers, but either way, it's caught us a bit unaware, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely has. Looks like Jerry Chen and George Angelidis just had a little bit of a moment. I want to try and have a look and see if I can catch that. Do so. Coming into turn one, Chen's on the inside. Angelidis goes very, very wide. Chen goes even wider. And Chen does manage to hold on. So it was a bit of both there. On that one, where they were both had a bit of an in-deep story with turn one.
They saw that the outside of the track there is tarmac and thought, yeah, that'll do. That'll be my racing line. And
let's go.
Worked out for George. But yeah, if there was grass there, I don't think they'd be as pleased with the lines they'd taken, but it's worked out eventually. But I think, depending on where Dan Kirby, that's an American there. Sorry, Dan Kirby. I think we're going to have one more lap when he finishes this one. He's just coming towards the line now, I believe. So yeah, we'll have one more lap to go. And yeah, it's going to be a bit of a victory lap for Daniel Kirby because he has dominated this race in the second half.
Yeah, seems to have carried on from where he left off, didn't he, last season? That's the thing for Dan Kirby. Taken a hypercar and he's just gone and absolutely smashed it. You know what I mean? And done incredible again with it. You know, he knows he doesn't have to rush. Ah! Oh, that could have been what it is there as well. But I definitely thought Kirby was going to have a moment there. Angelidis seems to have wrapped up the hypercar rams there. Neto is pretty much a shoo-in. And McClinsky in the AMS come from. Expecting that one. Ross Smith was right. He's down in 14th. Yeah, on board we go with Dan Kirby's. He's coming. Don't do it, mate. You don't need to. Up to the top. For what will be, Dara, the final time here. And he's driven so well. There's no words for what you're looking at with, you know, Dan Kirby. I watched him in the WSC that's taking place Saturdays. He had literally, you know, some bad races, and then he went and won 6 races on the bounce. Going to open up his NARS account with the first victory of the evening as well. Dan Kirby, well, the winner of the 1.2 at Daytona in NARS. Absolutely stellar job from him. No words for Dan Kirby. George Angelidis has come over the line. He's going to take the win in the hypercar AMS. What about Alessio Neto? Neto has just finished, well, taking the Pro category. What about Josh McKinsky? He's on his way now to match and take the AMS as well. So great driving from all of these guys as well, and a stellar job here, Dara. More action than what I think we were anticipating, more confusion, but I think it's going to give the guys on Saturday a little insight into 2.4, a few more stops and what they're going to be bargaining in for, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be interesting. I think these guys have learnt a lot for this for Sebring in 9 weeks' time as well, because yeah, we weren't really expecting everyone to have to go for Splash and Dash. I don't think Chen had to in the Hypercar AM category. I think he may be one of the only drivers not to have done so. So he's done very well, but for the majority of them, they needed that Splash and Dash at the end, both in the GT3s and the Hypercars. So yeah, maybe it just adjusts the stint length for the guys on Saturday, but they'll work it out. I'm sure they'll probably be watching this thinking how they're going to structure their race on Saturday, but it could all change. You never know how that's all going to unfold, you know. You could have a moment that changes the course of your race. You might have to lose, or you might lose your rear wing, have to come into the pit lane for repairs, and that shakes up all of your pit stops. But yeah, it was a great race, great reads from some of these guys, and I think it'll help the Saturday event, and of course the future events here in the NARS series. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed that one, and well done to our winners in all four classes, and particularly to Dan Kirby, who won very nicely over Alec King and George Angelidis, Alicio Neto, and Josh McGlinski as well.
Yeah, we're just waiting for Gino Bardelli. He hasn't yet as well. Sage, wow, what a nice race. Sorry, don't like to chat much, just like to watch. Hey, that's enough. Stefani, great commentating, guys. Sat will be fun. Yeah, it's definitely. I think as well here. So I think Saturday will be very, very interesting. And get you up the result for the session out here as well. Dan Kirby is your winner with Alec King in second, Franco Alvarez in third, Mike Bell in fourth with George Angelidis in fifth, Jerry Chen sixth, Diego Rodriguez in seventh, Felipe Ducati eighth, Brian Hall in ninth, Gil Lalonde in 10th, Ian 11th is Adrian Rice, Gwilym Bank in 12th, Lanning Hall 13th, Alicio Neto in 14th, JT Tammy there as well in 15th, Mateus Santos 16th, Michael Locke 17th, James Walker 18th, Goncalves 19th, and Matt Overton in 20th. Then Daniel Faz 21st, Johnny Gutierrez 22nd, John Uyan 23rd, David Anderson 24th, and Eric Jacobs in 5th. Josh McGlinski there in 26th, Paul Ibbotson in 27th, Ross Smith 28th, Oliver Day in 29th, and Stephen Miller in 29th place. No Bardelli in 31st, Stuart Barge 32nd, Eugene Tour in 33rd, Tom Nasala in 34th, with Carl Strowhill in 35th, and Philip Stocks in Paul McMillan in 37th, Alexander McQuarrie 38th, John Meyer 39th, and Jake Bowders down in 40. On the back end here as well, and then Matt Sunfenlap in 41st. Then we got the non-finishers, Jerry Hamilton, Norm Graff, Tucker Martin, Tom Mountjoy, Mike Olsen, Dave Coors, Ken Scott, and Vinny Oliveira here as well. That is your final results. Once more, let's start off. We'll have a chat with Josh McGlinski, who is taken the GT3 AM victory here this evening as well. Josh, welcome in, dear sir. How was that for you? Josh?
Hey, guys. Ready for the winners to come in?
Yeah, I've got Josh with me now from the GT3 AMs here, Matt, and I can't hear him.
I don't know why. So I'll bring in Daniel for you.
Oh, is it push to talk? Okay.
There you go.
There you go.
I figured it out.
There you go. Josh is here. Josh, how are you, dear sir? How was that race?
Doing good, doing good. That race felt great. I had a little bit of a spin coming out of the first pit stop, but we got it done. So feeling great.
Yeah, going forward for you, you know, let's just backtrack 2 seconds. You've had a great race. Tell me, what is it like being in GT3 class when you've got the hypercars rushing at you? Most people aren't aware of that situation. You know, they've never been in that situation before, Josh. So how scary is it?
It's pretty nerve-wracking, especially when they're coming through at the kink or coming into bus stop, because you all of a sudden got to make room for them and let them pass while trying to really push your car to the limits. But they come up on you quick. You really don't realize it until you see that blue flag marker, and then you just gotta make room and hope they pass safely. But it's pretty intense, which is why I love it.
Yeah, it definitely is as well. So, what's the ambition, Josh? What are we expecting from the season? Are you, first off, let's clarify, are you going to make every race?
I'm gonna try to. Depends how much I'll be in the shop working on our real life race car Miata. But my goal is to hit every race and finish the championship strong.
Very well. Not keeping his cards very much tight to his chest there is Josh McGlinchey. Hopefully we'll see you in March. We've got 9 weeks to wait there, Josh. Apologies for that one. You can blame Matt for that. I didn't do the calendar, but not my fault. But anyone you want to shout out, bud, before I let you go?
Thank you to Alec for creating such a dope livery, and and Shade Tree Motorsports. We're gonna come in strong this season. Other than that, yeah.
Awesome stuff, Josh. Thanks so much for joining us, there, bud, and we'll look forward to catching up with you as the season goes on.
All right, thank you, and thank you guys for broadcasting this. This is awesome.
No worries, buddy. Our pleasure. Right. Next
Hey,
up.
James, I'll bring in Daniel for you. How's that?
Oh, I was going up in orders there. I was going up. Pro.
Oh, you want the pro? Okay, got it. I'll bring Elisio over.
Yep.
Elisio, you're live.
Alicia, welcome in, dear sir. Thanks so much for joining me. GT3 Pro winner. One of the things we wanted to talk about up here in the book, out here, how close was the fuel situation? Because we were expecting to go only one stop. You guys went two.
Yeah, the kind of strategy it was very difficult. It was the key of the race, I think. During the moment on the starting, I was thinking about make a fuel economy and maybe do a race lean or even safety car to save 3 laps. That was what was needed for one only stop. It was 3 laps per stint saving, but during the weekend, I saw that the time that we would lose on the pit lane from the pit entry, from the stop, and from the PTSD, it will be all good to just push too much and do on the full push mode on the qualifying. Then the tummy, I think it's that the GT tummy. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
if
it's
like
JT Tammy, yep.
Okay, so it's pretty good. He did a reverse strategy. I was really pushing every single lap, and even my tires was so bad that they were very faster than me on the last laps. Like the 20 last laps, they were very faster than me or similar pace. And Tommy played on a way to 2 laps more of fuel. So I think maybe he can do it till the end. But I think he was fighting with Mateus, and then he lost a lot of time on this kind of battle. And it was very good race. I meant the GT and GTM, Hypercar M, Hypercar Pro were very respectful and hardly the moments that you need to be fear. The main problem, I think, for these GTs, it will be now the guys to adapt themselves into the new kind of tires, because these tires, it's a fixed tire for everyone for quali and for the race, so you not have more the soft tires.
Yeah.
What make it very different, I think, even for the people that use it to race in the official cars.
Yeah.
Because
I think tyres are going to be a big difference this season. I think they're going to be massive, aren't they, with the new construction of everything, you know, the new tyre models. You've definitely got to play it out, even in shorter runs there as well. If you're saving tyres, you're not saving tyres, are you going to double stint them? I don't think, to be honest with you, Alicia, that hardly anybody's going to be double stinting tyres. I think they're going to need to take the pit stop. If you're saying that they were dead by the time, you know, you needed them really to be underneath you. I think every pit stop you're going to be changing tires as the season goes on.
Yeah, of course it will be. I think at least by the Motec data that I have, I think that it will be like every single stop on the Saturday change because this tires it's a tire that from the 100% to the 90% it's very fast, but after it starts to understeer and oversteer. During the first lap of these tires, the car understeer a lot, but from the lap 2 to lap 5 it's okay, you will not feel anything, the car will be just perfect. And then from the lap 5 to the end it's oversteering and understeering every single corner. So I don't go from me 100% of I could give, because I was very cautious, mainly in the bus stop. That was a very tricky corner. I was like 3.5 cuts from 4. So I was very close to a drive through at the end because it was really very difficult to hold the car on the track.
Yeah, it sounds.
And
Go on.
the tire on the start it not warm up, as I don't remember the name of the boy that was talking with me during the briefing, and we talk about it to be very key. The moment when change the tires, if you be needed to change the tires, and even I feel curious if you have some rain during some race, has it to have, because I don't race it with those tires on a mixed conditions. So let's see how it is. And I congrats everybody that finishes a winner, because endurance racing is about winning and bringing points home. So congrats to Tommy, Santos, Locke, Walker, Vinicius, Metal, De Oliveira, Gutierrez. Everybody is to congrats in this race who finished.
Awesome.
The one that don't finish also, it's a challenge. Don't surrender. Keep it going, keep it head down, and focus for the next opportunity, and you'll be better. That's it.
Okay.
Thanks so much, boys. Many hugs from Brazil for everyone, and good morning.
Good morning.
Because it's not morning.
Alicia, you take
Bye,
care,
bye,
buddy. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Right, let's have a chat with George Angelidis, who, the boss man, the big boy, he's taken a victory that I have witnessed here as well, and he's done it in the first ever NARS series broadcast here by us up in the JPB booth. Takes the Hypercar Am win. George Angelidis, look at you, sir. Go on, big man.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh,
That was awesome.
I thought,
Great race. I'm just sweating completely. It is, it's surreal because I don't know what to say, where to start, because we didn't have a lot of practice. And shout out to my colleagues at work, Stefano Pulcini, for coming up with the setup of the car that we put. It is beautiful. The car was great, planted, and it had the speed. It was like the brake stability. It was just a great car. Also, Julian Rowe for. We were tonight. We were just before leaving work. He was there and he was telling me like, are you doing this still? Are you gonna go and race tonight? It's like, I don't know. I'm just tired. I'm not ready for this. And so it's like, I think you should, because you love it and you like it. And so like, yeah. So it worked out. It was a tough race. But yeah, I dedicate that one to Stefano. He had a terrible season. Well, a very tough season, I would say, last season with a WTR car, and they didn't get a win. So he said to go win for him, and that's what I did. So that goes for him. So keep fighting. The boys now at HRC US, they're down at Daytona for the Roar. So I wish them good luck on the real car. And as far as this race, it was just easy for me. Just put the head down, focus on my stints, not making any mistakes, be patient behind the traffic, which was a lot at some points. And I saw quickly that Jerry on the Porsche was going for a two-stop, and I was going for a splash and dash. So I had to make up for the time, but then I knew that he was trying to capitalize at Daytona, which has the longest pit lane. So I had to come up really quickly on my mind how much is the drive-through, or like the splash at Daytona. So in the first pit stop, I counted how many seconds is me the pit in, pit out. So I said like, okay, it's about 40 seconds. And I'm like, oh man, have to put 40 seconds down to Jerry. And I think I had 41 by the 8 minutes where I had to do the splash. And he came out ahead of me by 3 seconds. So it was just all or nothing. We went out hard. I don't know if you guys saw it.
Yep.
The last few laps. And then it was the outbreaking him at T1. And yeah, it was good, hard racing. Good job to everybody on track and everybody on the race. Very well behaved, no problems, no issues on traffic, no issues with the cars. Very safety. Thanks you all.
There you go. What more can we ask? Man who took his first Hypercar AM win. I would say, is there anyone you want to shout out, George? But I think you've pretty done it throughout the whole interview.
yeah.
I don't. Thanks, mate. I'll see you Saturday. Have a good one, bud.
I hope you enjoyed it too, guys.
Oh, I definitely did. I loved this one, mate. Absolutely loved it. Thank you so much, everybody. And I'll see you Saturday.
Yeah.
Well, next up now as well, we are going to have a chat with a man that went on a Thursday night drive, took the victory, didn't stop. He carried on from where he won the championship last season as well. Little battle with Alec King in the middle. Then it all settled down, and he went and took the victory. So let's have a chat with Dan Kirby, as always. Dan, welcome in, buddy. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Carried on from where you left off last season, eh?
Yeah, that was a tough race though against Alec. He was doing really, really good.
Did you plan for your free stop? Did you plan for your splash and dash?
Yeah, strategy-wise, I was crunching numbers and I didn't think going two-stop would be possible until like 25 minutes left in the race. I was like, I think I might have been able to fuel save enough to make it work. So I ended up taking less fuel on that splash than I thought I would by like half. But it was always the original plan, yeah, to splash at the end.
And there's been a car choice for you different this season, young sir. Not loving the Peugeot X8 anymore?
I mean, it's always nice to get into something new after driving the same thing for a whole year. So John liked this car, so we decided to use it instead, and yeah, get to work on developing setup and figuring out how to drive this one. So a bit different than the 9X8.
Yeah, it definitely is. I had a go in the 9X8 earlier on, and literally I didn't do anything. It was just a baseline setup, changed the gear in to get a little bit more oomph out of it. And I found that it took a lot more skill than I've got, say, Dan.
That was a really, really tricky car to drive.
Yeah. So the 9X8, as much as I loved it and it looked beautiful, it was a little bit out of my skill level. So there you go. But I did drive the Francini as well, and I loved that. It was full of gruff, full of power. It was a lot more straightforward to drive on that one. Where are you in conjunction with the season, Dan? Do you think you're going to be concentrating on NARS and VWSC, or you're going to be picking one over the other? What do you think's the situation going to be?
Well, I usually run every NARS because it's just like right after my work time. So I'm usually always here for NARS. And then VWSC, I should be able to make all, maybe -1. So yeah, I'm gonna try and put in a big effort for this year because I think we're gonna have a really big fight on our hands with a lot of new teams that came in.
Might be right. I've got a funny feeling you. Well, Dan, it's been a great
Yeah.
pleasure talking to you, buddy. Anyone you want to shout out before I let you go, mate?
Yeah, just shout out to everyone here at SGS that made all these cars possible. It was really crunch for time this year, and the guys are just crazy. No sleep, just knocking this out in a matter of weeks. It's just nuts.
Yeah, I'm surprised, to be honest, they even managed. And I literally didn't think they were going to. I'm surprised we got the 64 cars out as well for the historics. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they pan out as well. But Dan, look, pleasure talking to you as it always is, buddy. Great victory here, mate. Well done for you, and look forward to seeing you as the season goes on in Sebring.
Yep, thank you guys.
Take care, mate. Well, there you go, Dara. Great evening of racing coming to an end.
Yeah, he's coming to an end, and it's been a good race. There was a lot of question marks towards the end. We didn't exactly know which way it was going to go. Good battles for the lead in most of the classes, particularly at the start and even towards the end in that Hypercar AM class. But yeah, George Annalise just about took it. But very much looking forward to Sebring. It is 9 weeks away, but you know that the race has shown that this NARS series can produce some fantastic races, and I can't wait for the next one.
Absolutely there, guys, as well. Don't forget, get yourselves involved if you want to. All links down in the description below on the YouTube video, wherever you are watching, if you're watching on JPB or if you're on CMS. It's been great fun coming here and doing the NARS series. We look forward to coming once more in March. So stay tuned for that one. As I said, we've got the launch of VWSC this weekend, so tune in for that one as we could tackle 2.4 hours of Daytona this time around. So for now, guys, I've been James Parfit. I've been alongside Dara Facker up here in the booth. You all take care, and as always, have a great week. Never know, I see you on the track sometime. Good night.